apparently Ben Shapiro responding to a video of Emma talking about the killing of Jordan Neely. It's unclear right now. They're starting to look into what charges they're going to pursue of the killer. His name escapes me at the moment.
Daniel Penny.
Penny, this 22-year-old former Marine. It's pretty hard for me to see how this is not manslaughter charge without, getting too technical about the thing. I mean, it's quite clear the guy did kill him. And as far as we know, from the testimony that we've heard publicly anyways by the person who took the video, that that Jordan Neely did not physically assault anyone in that subway. And that to the extent that he was aggressive and yelling in the subway, the biggest thing he did that inspired this guy coming up behind him and putting him in a lethal chokehold. It's unclear whether or not this Marine was trained to do a chokehold like that. I imagine they are.
But we know that chokeholds in much less time have killed people.
Well, they're not allowed to be used by the police department anymore because they're lethal.
Eric Garner died in 9 seconds after
and
that.
Came up behind him after he threw his sweatshirt on the ground angrily and put him in a chokehold. I don't think it was, I mean, who knows what's in the minds of this guy. I don't think it was his intent to kill him, but he did put him in a lethal chokehold.
Use deadly force.
Use deadly force against this guy. And, once they press charges.
Severely underweight, starving on the street. There were multiple people there involved in subduing him. They could have put him face first on the ground, had his hands behind his back. There were a lot of other options if he was really trying to subdue him in this situation.
Well, also, you can also just make sure that the guy doesn't assault anybody. I mean, if you have those abilities, that's also what you could do.
I mean, if Neely actually assaulted someone, this wouldn't be a story.
Without a doubt. But here is Ben Shapiro responding to Emma.
A good person to accept it. So, for example, there's a woman named Emma Vigeland. She's on the Majority Report, I guess. And she had a clip going viral today.
Pause it. I think he will find it's Vigeland.
Yeah. Oh, damn it. No.
Vigilante.
And also, this is a clip. They took this from our show, I guess. I was surprised that this got traction. But it was within like 15 minutes of conversation we had on this topic.
Yeah,
and they picked this one part out. And I have my theories on why. The post-millennial, I think another account's put it up.
It's being normalized. And again, it makes you a good person to accept it. So, for example, there's a woman named Emma Vigeland. She's on the Majority Report, I guess. And she had a clip going viral today talking about how if you want to feel safe on public transit, this is bourgeois. And you have to suppress those bourgeois feelings. You have to make yourself feel okay about being abused on the public transportation system.
I was hit at one point sitting on the subway by a man who was having a mental health episode. He sat next to me and he was elbowing and kind of flailing around and hit me in the face and in my body. And it was jarring, right? The idea that I would want him to be hurt in any way, I just didn't want to be near him in that moment because I understood something was going on here. But like my fear is not the primary object of like what we should be focusing on right now. It's the fact that this person is in pain. And so like the politics of dehumanization privileges the bourgeois kind of concern of people's like immediate discomfort in this narrow instance, as opposed to larger humanity and life. It's really freaking twisted.
Being beat up, being physically abused is now being part of the larger spectrum of humanity. Isn't that wonderful?
Pause.
You are expecting.
Now, first off, I mean, I don't want to speak for you on this, obviously, but clearly what you're setting up there is the way that everybody's talking about we need to be able to feel safe on the subway. Mm-hmm. Who's the we?
Yeah.
Because if you can be summarily executed because A, you have a criminal record that nobody knows about, or B, you're having a mental episode and an emotional episode, and you're just making other people feel uncomfortable. No one was hit, as far as we know, from every public statement by anybody at this point. Even the statement by the killer, the lawyer put out, does not claim that Neely was physically assaulting anybody. He was aggressively threatening, although it's also unclear that he was actually threatening anybody. He was just acting in a way that was scary.
And that was the point I was making, which is that we as New Yorkers, the larger context was like, we've all had these kinds of interactions on the subway where someone is having a sort of episode, and I believe I gave an example of someone having an episode sitting next to me where I was physically hit briefly. And I moved away from that person. That made me uncomfortable. The context that Ben cut out there was that I don't believe that that person should be executed for what happened there.
They played it.
Don't think it's necessarily controversial.
We don't even need that context in there. Like it's quite clear. Like even the way that they cut that, it still makes the point that when we say we deserve a safe subway, who is the we? They're saying it's the guy who killed the guy, not the guy who died.
Right, like when Ben Shapiro says you have to be, when he's like mimicking you saying you have to be a good person to accept it. No, Ben Shapiro saying we have to be the good people to accept that certain people are going to use vigilante violence and take somebody's life on the subway.
Right.
Where's it? Like my kid goes on that subway on a daily basis. What if she had epilepsy and she starts going into a seizure? Or what if she has an emotional breakdown? She goes into a seizure. Is he okay with a Marine coming up, putting a chokehold around my kid? Yeah. My kid's freaking out.
Or or Tourette's or something like that. If like someone
whatever.
Swearing,
it doesn't matter what it is.
But we aren't the side, like this side that we're the ones that want to accept this. No, like Emma wants major political economy changes that deal with less of this happens. They want to defend the status quo that continues to break people like this to the point where they act out in public spaces.
And then the response
what happens
of people summarily executing them.
So when they talk about we just want to be safe on the subway, the reason I used the framing that I did is because there was one person who was very unsafe during that ride, and that person was Jordan Neely because he was killed. And it's who's the we in this situation, to kind of reiterate Sam's point. They want our transit systems to be free of undesirables, and that means if you're poor, if you're black, if you're homeless, and if you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that. But I am in favor of constructing a society where we would hopefully limit those things, guaranteeing housing, creating a national socialized healthcare system so people can have access to the medication that they need in mental health care treatments. That's what would create a more equitable society. What conservatives want is for people to be able to get away with essentially eliminating the undesirables and opening the can of worms of vigilantism. And the big problem in this city is that we're hitting a fever pitch for this kind of sentiment where our urban spaces are not there for people to live in anymore. No. Manhattan, that's a playground for bridge and tunnelers and for people to come in and see a show and not have to see these undesirables. We know this guy, the killer, was from Long Island. This is very much the sentiment of a lot of people that live outside of the city. And they want it to be a squeaky clean playground for people to go see the Knicks, go see a Broadway play, and then be able to leave and not feel bad about themselves at all. But that creates an urban center that is unlivable for people, and it only speaks to real estate interests, luxury condo developers, restaurant associations. The problem is that the city's become unlivable.
And let's be clear. When any of these right-wingers talk about this is anti-working class, first off, the working class in the city have the greatest threat of ending up like this guy who's killed. Ending up falling through, not being able to afford housing, getting kicked out. They have more opportunity to be, impacted by vigilante justice than anything else. I mean, the idea that there could be any justification and the attempt to bring up his record. That guy was it.
Well, can we just see what he said in response to me, though, quickly, Ben? I haven't even seen this clip yet. What does Ben say, though, in response to me?
Being beat up, being physically abused is now being part of the larger spectrum of humanity. Isn't that wonderful? You are expected by the hard left to now undergo being abused on the public transit system in order to create a more diverse and wonderful
taken
society.
the public transit system in his life.
Exactly.
I mean, good luck with this pitch, guys. Seriously, good luck to you in all your future endeavors. Because let me tell you something that nobody likes. Right, left, center. Being yelled at, beat up, assaulted on the subway system. Nobody likes that crap.
People love being choked out, though. People love being asphyxiated.
I'm sorry. And watching that on the subway, too. Witnessing somebody get choked out on the subway. Yeah, people sure like that, I imagine.
He combines yelled at with being assaulted. And I thought this was the whole side was like the actually languages and violence crew.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the point here, right? And I'm not making this as like a political pitch. I'm just making it from a humanity pitch. I'm actually concerned that a majority of people are not on my side on this. I mean,
I don't know that that's even the case.
But that was not the context of the conversation there. And honestly, here I'm just this is what triggers them about. Not Sam saying this, not Matt saying this, not other people saying this, right? It cut you out, I think. Yeah. It's something about me specifically. It's that I'm a woman. It's that I'm a white woman. It's that
you don't want to be a victim.
I'm not the damsel. I told the story and I said I would rather that man, I moved away from him. I was momentarily scared, but it was because I wanted to preach compassion in these situations for someone that actually takes New York City Transit in this. These right wingers, their anti-homeless vigilantism desires are all based in like, I'm going to be the hero with the gun that's going to come in and be the white knight. And they've been sold like this cowboy fantasy of how to exert their masculinity in society, that me saying I don't want any of that shit, that triggers them because I'm puncturing that
What's
fantasy.
Their purpose?
Your purpose is there to protect me, to protect women like me. And I'm saying that I don't want that. In fact, I think what you guys are doing is the real danger. You're the people that I need and the rest of us need protection from, not the other way around. You're the ones harming society. And that's why that clip made the rounds, because nothing I said there was objectionable in any way.
Well, I mean, it's the exact same reason why Janine Garofalo was the only person allowed to go on television and was invited on a daily basis onto Fox News 20 years ago to argue against the Iraq War, is because their ratings with their sort of old and misogynist fan base is enhanced by watching women who are, getting uppity in any fashion whatsoever, saying something like getting attacked. That is the, as far as I know, like one of the oldest playbooks that they have. And of course, you can see it. That's exactly why they'll do. That's why, all the right wingers from the libertarian right, Glenn Greenwald's to the and that whole crew and Shapiro. Glenn Greenwald talking about like making a class argument. The dude lives in a multi-millionaire chalet.
I should have protested more when I was 12 and my mom said, you're acting up a little. We're sending you to this. I should have been.
Well, is his argument that his kids in the future can't make any statements about the murder of somebody because he's sending them to private school? Give me a break.
It's very funny watching people like Glenn get mad that Emma is a class traitor.
Yeah, right. Hilarious. Well, that's what they can't say.
All these elites that don't want us to kill the homeless people.
Exactly.
And it's not something I've ever hid. It's
when was the last time Glenn Greenwald was on the subway?
Yeah, I mean,
give me a break.
I'm at least disclosing that. And I even said, like, Glenn, you want to put our pay stubs next to each other? Gladly. I would love
to see, like,
Put your pay stub up against his assistant.
Also,
right.
Also, if you guys want a treat, go to Matt's Twitter feed and check out when Glenn was running for mayor at 18 and
running for city council.
And city council at 18 in Florida, and what he was focused on, what his campaign planks were.
Do we have more of this?
Yeah, we can just put it.
Yeah.
Society. I mean, good luck with this pitch, guys. Seriously, good luck to you in all your future endeavors. Because let me tell you something that nobody likes. Right, left, center, being yelled at, beat up, assaulted on the subway system. Nobody likes that crap. Nobody's into it.
That's good.
So if this is the new idea, is that to be tolerant, diverse, and humane, you have to allow yourself to be abused by schizophrenic homeless people and drug addicts, then I wish you all the best. God bless you. Right, we'll get to more on.
Yeah, I mean,
They cut out the part where I said I was uncomfortable, by the way.
yeah.
It's because the whole straw man is that I liked it or something.
But it's like both sides of this want intervention, and our preferred intervention is like expanded healthcare and social services, and theirs is more money for cops so they can put these people in a wagon and get them upstate.
Let's just be clear. If you are either in this instance defending the killing of this guy, or you're not.
Yep.
That's it. Doesn't mean he's a saint. He's not being made into a, some type of like a deity. It's just that regardless of what you're doing, if you are not presenting, this is just simply a legal standard in this city.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is like I generally, once somebody's charged, don't get too involved in court cases. Follow maybe the Trump thing a little bit because of the specific, massively political nature of it and others. But for the most part, I never, this is going to be handled in court. But I would be surprised if this guy is not charged with some form of manslaughter, because he needs to, based upon what we've heard, it's possible that maybe we haven't heard all of it, but it sounds like even based upon his own statement, they're not even asserting that this guy was a physical threat to anybody.
Well, he's now retained counsel, and I'm
talking about that statement that they put out by the lawyer.
Yeah, I mean I'm the guy. It was a guy who's represented NYPD union heads who stole from the guy that stole from his members. He represented him, and then also ran against Alvin Bragg for DA. So this is like this is going to be a very intense court case. And last thing, I had one more point I wanted to say about what Ben said there. Shoot.
In the meantime, while you're thinking of that, I like this line from this Nitish Pawa, I think in Slate. Jordan Neely's hometown failed him, but the line is, when New York's elected officials continue to embrace aggression against the unhoused, brutal stances on criminal justice and public service austerity, other New Yorkers follow by choosing cruelty over compassion.
Yeah.
They're following suit.
I mean,
exactly.
look, here's the bottom line. If you are going to argue that it's okay for this guy to be killed in this instance, how can you turn around? Like, what does that do to the political argument that people like him should be housed? Like, that people like him should be guaranteed some ability to eat and to receive, health care.
And that's the thing.
If he deserves to die in this instance, not harming anybody. Yes, making people uncomfortable. Yes, it's scary. I've been there. It's scary. But in this instance, like, if it's okay for him to be treated with a lethal restraint and, continue to be held in a lethal restraint well after everybody's off the train, then how can you turn around and say that this isn't undermining any attempts to advocate for this person as a human being? You can't.
Well, that's the allowing for him to get choked out is an extension of what we've said society is okay with. We're okay with him dying in the street. So why wouldn't we be okay with the vigilante killing him in this way? And the point I did want to make too is that we just spent the first 2 hours of the show touching on the mass shooting in Texas. All I heard was right-wingers talking about mental health. Right. They don't give a shit about mental health care.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize, people talk about how he was making people uncomfortable on the train. Even the original New York Post story, which was not slanted toward the victim here, said he started off saying, "I have no money. I have no food." Like, it's really sick.
Yeah.
Should we go to Temple?
Let's go to the IMs. Fizzy drinks. Regarding the killing of Jordan Neely, would the killer be able to make a good Samaritan defense? Thinking this guy's guilty. I don't. My understanding of New York law is that there has to be a physical threat, and no one has made that assertion.
Yeah, and I think you even have to say, like, for the self-defense, you have to give them an opportunity to, like, retreat from the conflict too. Like, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer,